Greetings, everyone. You know, it's like watching everything get regurgitated again. Here we're back to the our common law this and our common law that. And let's correct this and let's get passports for that. And let's keep playing around with what the central bankers created. And all the time, while everyone's playing games with what the central bankers created, the reality of how outnumbered people are by the ignorance of this, the reality of the lie that everyone's caught up in. And yeah, we're back to the file date again. We're back to the true date that the legal name came into effect. And I'm watching people try to bounce around it like it doesn't matter. And for me, it matters a lot. It was absolutely life changing in regards to getting out from under, as right now they're doing everything they can to set up every roadblock possible to try to force me back into a position that I don't agree with. And you may or may not know the personal struggles that I faced or that I'm going through now. And it's just not about me anymore. It's about two babies that are not registered to the corporation. And I'll tell you, I am a man caring for two babies that are not pledged, nor are their placentas, because I got the placentas, not the hospital, not the corporation, not the gobbledygook about how they created the straw man off of the placenta. And it's really truly madness to watch everyone. I've been at this for a long time, and I'm watching the ego and the secured party creditors and the gurus and their how many stars on your passport crap and your copper moonshine bullshit. But I tell you, for the folks that see it, I'll say it to you again: pull the birth certificate out, since that's what everything is surrounded by. And surrounded around is the pledging of biological property under the law merchant, under the scheme of secured transactions, to enslave everyone as economic slaves forever. And I tell you, I don't care how free man you were during the pandemic, your life was altered. You still couldn't go to your favorite restaurant. You still couldn't do the things that you used to do. And you hear, oh no, that I never wore a mask. Oh, I never. Oh, I. As soon as you figure out it's not about I, because it's supposed to be about us. Well, nobody owes you anything. You're right. I mean, really, with my two stateless babies, I'm seriously pondering on fleeing North America because it's gotten so bad, and people are still playing so many games with what the central banks created. I mean, they got you guys running around, jumping through hoops, creating trust, doing all of these things, but at the end of the day, who are you throwing your wealth to do all these things? I brought this up to Anna von Ritz when she was getting everyone to authenticate. And the same thing with David Straight. Double authenticate, triple, quadruple authenticate your birth certificate. It's not your birth certificate. You can be the holder. And wait a minute. The whole idea of the legal name was supposed to be to have a beneficial position within the corporate bankruptcy. But we see how that's worked out under their Chapter 11 reorganization that James Traficant, the Ohio congressman, talked about, and we see what happened to him. Along with McFadden, who brought criminal charges against the Federal Reserve, we see what happened to him. Along with Kennedy, who was, we're not going to do this. We see what happened to him. I think we see a trend here about this whole Ponzi scheme of printing money out of thin air. And, I ask myself, to all these people out here with their big, bad, I travel with my private tag and I don't have a driver's license and blah, 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 blah. And I operate in the private and blah, 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 blah. What about the millions of people that have lost homes? What about the millions of people that have lost their lives? No thought for that. What about the millions of babies continuing to be pledged every day to this central banker bullshit? I want to show you something. And I normally do not. Oh, I'm going to show you something here. Let me tap this real quick. And see if the Constitutional Convention complied to Path to Freedom. Woo, Path to Freedom. Mickey Clan, we previously commented, yes, we are all aware of this information at We the People Constitutional Convention. Thank you. Really, thank you. Don't thank me. Tell everyone. Nah, we're not going to do that because, good gosh, we want everybody to know that they're making a fatal error when using that straw man, corporate fiction, organization name, entity, bullshit that should have never existed in our lives in the first place. So any of you that want to respond to me about any of this fuckery, I'm going to say the word fuckery, because that's what it really boils down to. A bunch of shit that should have never existed in our lives in the first place. But no. We're all in control. We've created a trust, or we're secured party creditors. And I ask myself, what's the difference between getting food stamps or getting access to the Federal Reserve window? Truly. What's the difference? Is that the ultimate welfare? To be able to learn how to write off all of your, wait a minute, is it debt or is it credit? Where are we at in this debit credit system? But you know what? At the end of the day, how many people do you have to leave behind in order to secure something for yourselves or for your family or for your friends or for whoever can afford to come to one of your guru classes? What I share is simple. And it gets right down to brass tacks. It gets right down to what affects every man, woman, son, and daughter ever to be registered at one of these foundry hospitals where they really have no business taking your private information and help create securities without licenses. And you hear this information come out and you're like, our common law process. But who's going to enforce your common law process? Where is your enforcement coming from? Because I've watched this go on for so long now, it just rattles my brain. Because those of us that have been around for a while realize you have no enforcement because they all work for the corporation. They all protect the corporation. They all protect the political heads, the pedophiles, and the shitty people that are all just happy to keep going along with the grand lie of volunteering your date of birth for an entity, organization, straw man, corporate fiction. I don't care what kind of crap you want to call it. I call it crap that shouldn't have existed in our lives in the first place. But you want to volunteer your date of birth for something that wasn't created the day you were born. that makes you a liar. And if you can spell it out or prove it to me in any different, by all means, there's a comment section down below. Throw it down. But I'm pretty damn confident that you can't do that. Well, it's all hearsay. Here we go, trying to go around it again. This is something that is affecting the energy field. Forget everything else for the moment. And think about the negative energy that's being produced by the millions and millions of billions, if not, I don't know, is there a trillion people on this plane we live on anymore after the pandemic? I don't know. I really don't. I don't think anybody knows really how many people there are or aren't. How many men, women, sons, and daughters there are. So we don't want to say children, or we don't want to say kids, because we're not dealing with a bunch of baby goats. Here's the thing. The English language is not the official language of North America. See, there was an attempt over and over and over to officialize English as the official language of North America for both the de jure and the de facto. It's one of the only bills I've ever seen that address both the de jure and the de facto. And the de facto shouldn't exist if that's the corporate side, or is it de jure that's the corporate side, or is it all just a pile of crap? You have no constitutional protected rights operating under that fiction, volunteering your date of birth for something that wasn't created the day you were born. You're in perpetual dishonor. And people just still want to try to maneuver their way around it. They want to ignore it. They want to send you emails like this. Yes, we're well aware of this information. Are you? Well, gosh, I would think you would be loud and proud and showing everyone what's been shared with you. And I'm sorry, Douglas Joseph Herrick, the passport is a legal name. All you have to do is call the State Department and say, hey, is that a legal name on the passport? Why, yes, it is. Voila. Well, how do we fix this grand lie? Well, let's see. If the whole ruse is everyone being forced to pledge their babies down at the hospital. I just watched one of the secured party creditor group members. Hey, we're at the hospital and we didn't want to fill out the birth certificate paperwork, and they're telling us we can't take our baby home. Anything you are being forced to do, folks, what is the meaning of that? Put a 1 in the comment section, or throw it down in the comment section down, or in the live chat, or throw a comment down in this. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for you to like or subscribe or any of that business. I'm here for the truth. That's what I'm here for. And I can tell you what happens when you call a credit repository and you challenge an account. You send them a copy of the birth certificate. You give them a call on the phone and go, hey, that just came to my attention. I've been using the wrong date for the legal name that's on the credit file. Oh, well, okay. Well, we'll correct that for you. And poof. And it's tied to the Social Security number. So now tell me, folks, how do they report a debt against? Bankruptcy means debtor. You is a debtor of the union. You can keep trying the same thing over and over and looking for a different, are doing now, and they're looking for a different result. And it's just like, hey, guess what? The insanity is just still marching on. They're still spraying the skies. They're still poisoning the food. They're still, wait a minute. If you want SNAP and TANF, yeah, if you want food stamps, which that means like pretty much everybody that works at Walmart qualifies for food stamps. Part of that is your sons and daughters. You must poison them with vaccines. The idea that they have any avenue to push any forced medical on anyone for any reason shows us this we're still going to hell in a handbasket here. Do the same thing over and over and look for a different result. And to me, it's my soulmate passed away. Where I worked, and when I worked, man, I did so pretty good. Like, I worked for myself, and most of what I did really tried to avoid the whole legal undoing of God's law, as everyone wants to spout. Legal, it's the undoing of God's law. Well, yeah, and here we are with the legal system still doing its thing. And getting back to the official language. Well, if they would have officialized English, that would have killed the legalese. And they weren't talking about just English is going to be the official language, but it's going to be the official language in all contracting. That means on paper. Not to mention, that all caps crap is dog Latin. Just bother to look up the Justinian deception. Thank you, Romley Stewart. Thank you. Thank you for all that you brought forward. Oh, there's multiple dates for this legal name. Yeah, well, there's one in particular that comes with a wet ink signature, and it's called the file date or the registration date. And I can tell you this. I think it really scares the shit out of them. The idea of people realizing that their date of birth should not be commingled with that legal name in any way, shape, or form, ever. On any driver's license, fishing license, gun permit, building permit, passport, Social Security. Even Chat GPT-4 agreed that the registration, it didn't agree, it communicated when we asked the question. Well, it's the organization name. Thank you, Largus Brock. The organization name, because he kept saying corporate fiction or straw man or whatever he was using different terms. I said, well, try asking about the file date in reference to the organization name. And oh boy, what did it spit back? Oh yeah, the registration date is the relevant date when applying for passport, Social Security, driver's license, fishing license, gun permits, anything and everything that involves that legal name, that all crap capital name that should have never existed in our lives in the first place is the creation of the central bankers. And I can tell you, 3 things that central banks wanted to control, people: printing of money, industrial relations, and trusts. All y'all out there creating your trust. I got all my stuff in the trust. You know what? If they throw the shit at the fan hard enough, whatever you got on paper is really just not going to matter. All that's going to matter is how much guns you have, how much ammo you have, how much food and water do you have, and how well can you hold on to it. And how many people are going to actually band together to fight whatever boogeyman they're going to send at us next. Because they're really good at this division thing. They really are. And for all you people coming from Mexico and China and Venezuela and every other place in the world that they're you're just coming to the biggest slave plantation there is. The one that's ruined your country, ruined the world. All y'all in the military. You know what your specialty is? Central bank installation specialist. That's what the whole damn thing has been about. Oh, no central bank over here? Let's go stomp them in the ground. Gaddafi, ring a bell? Oh, we're going to do gold back. No, you're not. Come on. You know, there's a bill up right now to end the Federal Reserve. I don't know who's going to end up dead this time. You know, it has to be a number strong enough where they can't kill us all. But good gosh, are they trying? And we're all still trying to dance around it. Like, oh, I'm just going to dance around over here and try to hold on to my shit. And to hell with everyone else. And here's the deal. The more ignorance you allow to grow on the sideline, the eventuality is, and you can go back to my live feeds on the Facebook. Here, let me show it to you so that way you'll know. Okay, I'll pop it up here, so you'll know which Facebook you need to go to. Let's make sure it's showing it, because good gosh, we're not hiding over here. There you go. There you go. All right. You know, this whole thing under the bankruptcy, and all they're willing to give us is breadcrumbs, if that, from what should be our own bakeries. And people still want to keep trying to dance around this stuff. And the more you dance around it, the more time you give them to create more ignorance. The more the public schools keep teaching the Rockefeller way. And I can tell you this, though, this idea that we're not going to volunteer our date of birth for their legal name. It's not our name, it's their name. The state of created subcorporation of the United States Incorporated. It's their name. It's not mine. I can be the holder for benefits, but whew, I wish you the best trying to get some benefits. And if you got to jump through 100,000 hoops to get benefits, you'll probably be dead by the time that happens. And I can tell you, the more time they have to create the ignorant will just go along with them doing whatever they want to you people that just don't go along to get along and comply. It's that comply or die mentality, because they have the monopoly on violence. They have the monopoly on enforcement. And it really starting to really show how Luciferian and satanic just about everyone is, wanting to continue to live this lie, volunteering their date of birth for something that is easily provable was not created the day they were born. It's just absolute madness. And what does that say? You volunteered to be trustee of the trustee. Interesting. And how is it that you volunteered? How are you volunteering? In the comment section down below, let me know how y'all are volunteering to be trustee of the trustee. Never to forget, none of this should have ever existed in our lives in the first place. Period. You see, I sent this file date information to Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino, and 2 days later, they were let go from Fox. I don't even know if they've got the emails. Maybe they were let go quickly so they wouldn't notice the email. I don't know. I don't know if they saw it or not. Don't really care. I sent it to Glenn Beck. Nothing. And I know, right? Look, these are people with large platforms that should be able to reach a lot of people, like Mickey Klon, who I just showed you with the Constitutional Convention. Yes, we got the information. We're well aware. Blah, 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 blah. Who cares? We're well aware that everyone's telling lies. We're just going to want to do it our way. And we're going to do it the way that I've watched people try to do it. And you got some winners, you got some losers. It's like a casino out there. You know, we got to show some winners, or, you know, nobody will play. But when you want to come at me about any of this crap, my first question to you is, how do you justify any of this existing in our lives in the first place? That we have to create PMAs, and we have to create trust, and we have to authenticate, or we have to do anything that requires us to report to, respond to, pay for. And how do you pay a debt with a bet? Wait a minute. So you're using debt notes sending it to whoever it is that you're authenticating, whatever. And then back to Anna von Ritz. Anna von Ritz, well, we've had millions of people authenticate. Okay, well, let's time that by what? Let's say, get the birth certificate, send it off to the secretary of bullshit. And okay, so let's just say it's $100 rounded off, right? That's 100 million. That's hundreds of millions of debt notes, which can't pay a debt with a debt. But here we are. We're going to send debt notes to authenticate something that should have never existed in our lives in the first place. And you've still got hospitals down there in your local communities. Y'all so proud of yourselves. I can travel in my car and I don't have to use a tag and they just let me go and I got stars on my passport and blah, 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 blah. And the whole time they're still down there threatening moms and dads with kidnapping, or they are kidnapping babies. I mean, this is what I watched in this journey. I watched Danielle Holmes have her baby snatched from her at the hospital because she didn't want a birth certificate. And then to really top it off, they had a safety meeting with the real child traffickers. And the first thing that the caseworker came in and said to Danielle was, we have safety concerns. And our first concern was you didn't want a birth certificate. I can tell you this. Neither one of my offspring, son or daughter, have a state-created birth certificate or legal name. And I'm not getting one. And that means we have to get thrown off the food stamp roll and they're no longer going to get medical treatment because I can't cough up a legal name volunteering my date of birth with it. What are we supposed to do, people? I can't work. I'm taking care of a special needs son that's 24/7. 24/7. From the time he gets up till the time he goes to bed. 7 days a week. And I've been doing that for 8 months straight. It's 11/11. Imagine that. I mean, it is, and I'm not being funny. I barely have a moment to take a poop. I don't have to jump off the toilet because it's that demanding. And then I have his little sister. And hey, guess what? We did everything right. She got left hooked up to that placenta for a long time. And guess what? She's like baby genius. Just like Brother Polite talked about. All y'all ladies having your babies all the wrong way. Do not have babies at the hospital. Do not bring in their state certified house mothers or whatever the hell you want to call them. That's going to report the event. Well, I can't help you have a baby without reporting the event. Because it's people like that that are completely indoctrinated that soon will agree that any of you that are not going along completely complying with however they want you to comply, well, it's complete test to see how many people would turn on the testing ground or testing. It's the same thing with I don't want to hear anybody's bullshit. Oh, they're not pledging the babies. Well, what the hell are they pledging? It's the placenta. Well, guess what? Somehow their pledging of the placenta is affecting the baby from cradle to grave. And let me really disturb you because I'm gonna give you some of that in my head. For all of the people that never ever name in play, that lived this lie from cradle to grave. I mean, if we really believe in a divine creator, and we really believe that, well, a liar is the same as a thief, is the same as a murderer, because if you'll lie from me, you'll steal from me, you'll kill me. Isn't that the progression of sin. Isn't it all considered the same? That the liar, the thief, and the murderer are all guilty of the same thing? I mean, or is this just all really some fabricated fairy tale in the Matrix? We're living in a Matrix. We're in a what do they call it? I'm lost for the word here. It's there, but but here's all I can tell you, folks, is the idea of no longer going along with violence. And here's the thing: people are stuck like Chuck with these legal names because, good God, they're demanded at every turn. You want to buy a pack of cigarettes, you want to buy a 6-pack of beer, you want to get in this club, you see my point? It's demanded everywhere you go. It's the thing that scares the shit out of them is the masses going, hey, wait a minute. I can look right here on the birth certificate I'm a holder of, and I can see that, yeah, hey, wait a minute. I was born on the 17th, but the legal name wasn't created until July 27th. And it's even accompanied with a wedding signature over here on the certificate of live birth. I mean, if we're going to talk about all this guru shit, and we're going to talk about all this shit that shouldn't have even existed in our lives in the first place, and we're going to talk about how we're just going to not do anything about the baby pledging down at the hospital because that's not baby pledging. Okay, well, it's a contract. It's a QSIP number, Committee on Uniform Security Identification Procedures. So it's obviously a security. It's a bond. It's on bond paper. No, it's not a bond. It's a contract. No, it's not a contract. Well, it's a bond or a contract. No, it is both. You are under bondage. And we're just going to continue to ignore that. Every hospital and every community should be taken over by the people that have a clue what's going on. And there should never be another baby pledged to this financial system ever again. And wait a minute. What's the foundation of the state of subcorporation? Who gets $1 million every time a baby is born and pledged under registration? What does registration mean in legal terms? The undoing of God's law. I mean, you hear it over and over and over, and it's just like, okay, I get it. But what are you doing about it? What are you going to do about it? I've got my hands full. And here's the thing. In this entire journey, I've never seen any effort to put just absolutely end the birth certificate process going on at hospitals. In any community, anywhere in North America, or anywhere in the world, really. And I would think that with all of the trouble that these legal names have caused so many people, that would be the number one priority. Is no more. You get no more human resources. You get no more product. But no, I can travel in my car without insurance and a tag. Oh, you're so proud of yourself. If the foundation of this system is the monetary mad printing press coughing up a million debt notes per baby born at the hospital, $1 million isn't for us. It's not being like, hey, we're putting this in a trust over here for you, and that way you're going to be taken care of during this Chapter 11 reorganization bankruptcy that we keep kicking the can down the road. Don't you people get it? Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, all of this crap that you all gloat about under an emergency is you're under the Trading with the Enemy Act. You're under trading with the enemy. That legal name makes you the enemy. But more than that, what does it make you when you're volunteering? I don't care how many gold stars or authentications or anything that they got you thinking you're getting away with. That you are somehow the exception to the crowd now. It just doesn't matter. It's a lie. I had to lie and get a driver's license. If I didn't get the driver's license, my son would not have gotten his dental work. No, I got to have a state ID. Social Security office will not even talk to you unless you produce a driver's license or a state ID or a passport. Why? Because all three of those are going to have your date of birth with their legal name. Hook, line, sinker. You are finished. I am finished. We are finished. If we don't just stand up, mash together, take a look at this simple answer. You don't have to go to class. There's no guru to pay. There's nobody to answer to other than yourself. What are you going to do with this information? And I mean, I've sent it out to a lot of people, some heavy hitters, some people I thought were really going to just, look, let me cough this up for you. Because I don't play games. I really don't. Let me see if I can get this to show up here. We're gonna put some people on blast right now. Okay, one in particular. We're gonna put him on blast right now. And I don't give a shit how he feels about it, because he certainly, after he got what he wanted, was not interested in being my friend or protecting or having my back or worried about me at all. So let's see if we can make this show up. Shut that off. Let's turn this on. Nah, it's not going to show you this. It's not going to let you see this. Isn't that interesting? Fuck it. Let's go entire screen. Yeah, let's just go. Boom, 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 boom. Down the rabbit hole we go. Because I am really over it. What do we have here? What do we have there? See if we can make that work. That's kind of weird. We're tunneling. Get a look at it while it runs down the rabbit hole. Okay? Because that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to keep clicking it so you can see it. All right. So that right there is John Glenn McClure. Well, John Glenn McClure was a sheriff's deputy, and he was a bailiff at the very courthouse where, you know, they really put the screws to me. Why? Was the undersheriff and then the sheriff, Chris Blair, Marion County, Florida. See, I can name names and I can tell you, you know, it was a rough day when he called me, because, you know, I knew what was going on with his election fraud money. And Vincent Paulmeyer, he's an anesthesiologist, pretty world renowned. In fact, he went over to communist North Korea to help Kim Jong-il's medical crew help try to keep him alive. Now, that was my little sister was married to this guy. And his son just pretty much tried to commit suicide because of he doesn't want anything to do with him. And it's the same man that told initially kidnapped by Francis King. You know, I had extremely disturbing things bring me into this journey to, you know, watch gurus with their, well, it really started with the birth certificate. Well, John McClure there, as you can see, we're gonna pop that one more time, because that's how this thing works. This guy here, John McClure, he was a deputy. He was a bailiff at the Marion County Courthouse. And I'm sorry, I made an error and I used the wrong date, because we've all had the correct date to use. It's always been there on the birth certificate that you're a holder of stuff that should have never existed in our lives in the first place. Now, he was on his third bankruptcy, or his third, yeah, he was on his third foreclosure. They wouldn't give him any more refis. And then this comes up, the file date, and you can see he wanted me to help him and it in to the credit repository, and we got his date corrected. And then magically they gave him a refi on his house better than he could ask for. Can you imagine that? And he's telling me what the comptroller over there had to do when I corrected the date and notified the clerk of the court. And of course, they were trying to frame me for a third-degree felony on impeding a firefighter for some little forestry dork that wanted to make up stories that I was going to get a gun and shoot him over a fire that wasn't mine on property that wasn't mine, all because I sent him to the end of the driveway. A little butt hurt is what he was. But Marion County, Florida is. Billy Wood's crew is as corrupt as the day is long. You know, he's friends with my little sister who stole my $100,000 that my dad left me. But hey, you know, let's just keep kicking the guy that's down. And now here I am. I've lost my soulmate. I have 2 beautiful babies to take care of. And these people don't feel any guilt whatsoever. They really don't. I haven't been able to work for 8 months. But anyway, John McClure there still works at the women's prison, basically trying to sit at 2 tables. He's wanting to not use the date, but then he wants to use the date. And see, when I got the driver's license, I immediately came on to Facebook, made a video, showed everybody I got this driver's license, and I had to lie to get it. And I've made a video where I went back to the DMV and pointed out to them, hey, I've committed perjury getting this driver's license. Well, yeah, we see that, but so no big deal. I can commit perjury and lie and give my date of birth for a legal name. You admit that's a legal name on the driver's license, right? Yes, it's an impossibility. But are you a U.S. citizen? They ask us. Are you a U.S. citizen? You go to the doctors and they want to, are you a U.S. citizen? What the fuck does that matter? Keep on keeping on with the lie. And the ones full of ego and narcissistic, just want to brag about everything they can get away with, and they don't bother me, and well, you're just so much just like the mask wearing morons. It's gonna be like They Live. Oh, your party creditor crap. Navigating shit that should have never existed in our lives in the first place is just not gonna matter. And if the 45 million plus newcomers that they brought into North America are really here to just shit on our day, I don't care what you have on paper. Last time I checked, none of that crap was bulletproof. Oh, and if it's digital, well, they can just erase that crap. Billy Smith, yes, I'll get that corrected for you right away. And Billy Smith found out from the IT guys that that's impossible. That's why the court system won't spit out anything. But those capital names, you know, the Jan 6 capital. Y'all keep playing games. Keep playing games. Keep trying the same thing over and over, looking for different results. And keep being so proud of yourself with all the wind you're blowing. And you're not changing anything. They're still down there at the local hospital in your community. You haven't changed anything. And let's not forget about the voter registration. Yeah, you registered to vote. That's a legal name there, and you're volunteering your date of birth. Well, you're in dishonor because you're using the wrong date, so they can just vote whatever way they want to vote for whoever they want to vote for. It's a selection, not an election. Who's got the power of attorney? Oh, wait a minute. There shouldn't even be attorneys. Tona. Yeah. Well, that basically wipes them right off the map. Well, did we forget about that so quickly? I think we did. So, and then wait a minute. De facto and contracting, there would be no legalese to be confused by. And see, Schumer and Pelosi both sidetracked it with what's called a unifying language, and the state subcorporations hopped in. Yep, that's it. Thank you. There we go. Good. Us in the game. Y'all are so proud of yourselves for your individual achievements. Mickey Klon talking about, but that doesn't save everyone. You're right, Mickey, it doesn't. You know what does save everyone? realizing they're using the wrong date and that they're volunteering to be trustee of the trustee, that they're volunteering their date of birth, placing themselves in perpetual dishonor. Wait a minute, Derek Gonzalez, maxim of law. You can only control what you create. You're not supposed to be controlling it. Douglas Joseph Herrick, I am so sorry, brother. But I tried to warn you that the passport, it's in dog Latin, man. That's a legal name. I don't care if it says given name. The problem is they're not defining who gave it to you, and the state of subcorporation gave it to you. You're a holder. You were correct about that. That's a very, very strong observation. You are a holder of that legal name for benefits under the Chapter 11 reorganization bankruptcy because there's no way to pay for anything. You all are right about that. You can't pay a debt with a debt. But wait a minute. How many people, wait a minute, are using debt notes to correct something, who are basically enriching the same very corporation that shouldn't exist to get out of something that they're never going to get out of? Because as long as they're able to run that Mad Hatter printing press, they're able to pay very bad people to do very bad things, playing out every single day. Every single day. On our monitors, a little bit on TV, but mostly on our monitors and on YouTube and on Rumble. And we're probably not even seeing the worst of it. That's for sure. Because there are people like myself whose story just gets swept away. No one needs to hear about that. That's, when I would tell people about what was going on when my son was judicially kidnapped and my supposed brother-in-law, my sister's husband, was the sitting sheriff, they just couldn't believe it. They're just like, no, there's got to be more to this. I'm like, yeah, you wish there was. I wish there was. I wish I could say, yeah, I did something there that just justified the cowardless, do-nothing sheriff, Chris Blair, who, of course, he called me on the phone, told me to keep my mouth shut about his election fraud money that involved Vincent Paulmeyer, because he's the one that basically gave him all the money. He was involved in the case that had to be sent up to Gainesville that FDLE played cockblock on so that they could slap him on the wrist and say, hey, if you don't agree to run for sheriff, we'll just dismiss these 3 felonies you have so you can keep your retirement and carry on, and we'll give you a job down here at the tax office or some shit like that. You can't make this stuff up. And, now my little sister's starting to feel it with Vincent Paulmeyer, whose son wants nothing to do with him. And you know what? It's only hearsay for now because I tried to get him to do an interview with me because he doesn't want to have anything to do with Vincent Paulmeyer, because Vincent Paulmeyer allegedly is masturbating while he's laying there next to him in bed, his 14, 15-year-old son, with shit like this going on. And you got, wait a minute, the lawyers who I told my sister, you're going to lose. Oh, she lost. And now he's back in control because he's got a lot of money and a lot of really good connections within the State Department. Let me repeat it again. He went to communist North Korea to train anesthesia for Kim Jong-il's crew to help keep this nuclear threat alive. I was just like, tell me this isn't really. My sister went with him. She said, I'll never go back there again. This woman followed me around with an AK-47 the entire time I was there. There was cameras in the bathroom. Yeah, it's communist North Korea. Yeah, it's complete and utter control like they want to have here, like they have in China, like they want to have in the whole world. And we're all still dicking around, letting them register babies down at the local hospital in your community. It is just insanity that nobody, and I've been blowing this up for many, many moons. Hey, we really got to stop the registering of babies. That's ground zero, man. Once you stop that, then you can see fit to really shine a bright light on all the legal names that have been created and how they're using them and how they're abusing them and what they're doing to us through them, through this undoing of God's law. I'll tell you, the number 17 is just jumping at me every time I turn, every video I watch. This girl, July 17th, and she ran her car into a wall and killed the two young boys with her, and it's everywhere. 1717. Who? Wait a minute. What was created on 1717? The Freemasons. What's 17, 17, and 17? What does that equal? I mean, it's jumping at me like just popping 17s at me every time I turn around. It's just 17. I don't know if it's the algorithms. It's just a coincidence. But man, the 17 has been on fire. And then I'm a July 17th, according to the Gregorian calendar, that we shouldn't be on. So, you know, for me, all I see are all the stuff that should not be going on, should not have existed in our lives in the first place. And the frustration of the idea of the people that you have to put up with on a daily basis, and their ignorance because you're not wearing your mask. You didn't get the jab. What is wrong with you? The science said. And you know, all you got to do is pull that rug out from underneath them and end the baby registration. And then they have to try to entrap you in their economic slavery, which is going to be really tough to do. Subcorporation who's, wait a minute, Rod Class, Woodstock Part 1, and it certainly is not being spent on us. We have Jewish Family Services getting millions or billions of dollars that they're pumping to these Catholic NGOs. And I'd like to mention that I did a little research on the idea of how many sheriffs in North America are Catholic. Oh, my brother-in-law, Chris Blair, he was right on the end of that Catholic deal. In fact, so were all the judges, and so were all of the people that seem to be running the corporate political show. Just an observation. So you would think there'd be enough room on this plane for us all to just get along. But there just seems to be a certain group that just can't seem to be happy with that. It's just we have to hate somebody for some reason. We have to hate them without reason. We have to hate them because we hate them. And who told you this? Who told you we Christian? Islamic against secret societies and the little fancy clubs and the people of preference that have been pushing this insanity of hate and control. And for who? Who are they doing this for? They're Luciferians. They're satanic. Really? So these people are all creating chaos for the loser that they, I guess, don't believe is the loser. But goodness, where does it all end, people? When do we just say enough's enough? When do we stop the registering of babies? When do we say, no more? And if you threaten a mom and dad who say, nah, we don't want to be a part of your corporate system, and if you take their baby, you really should be, playing on a swing set for eternity. And then whatever happens to you after that, in the next the next level, as we are in a transitory world, we're all just passing through. This isn't a permanent place for any of us. We're all just passing through. I'm not sure where you're going or where I'm going or where they're going, or we've got some ideas, and it's not pretty sight. And then to bump all, for all you cryptonatics, KYC is a hold your legal name, volunteering your date of birth up next to your face, take a picture and send it to the exchange. And I hope everything that I've already said in this video resonates with why they want total control of everything and all property and all people. That's why they killed McAfee. They killed McAfee because he created an exchange that didn't require know your customer, KYC. You didn't have to hold a state ID, a driver's license, or a passport up next to your mug and send them a picture of it in order to get on the exchange. In fact, when crypto came out, all you needed was an email. That was it. Just an email. And now look where it's at. With people like Gary Gensler just basically making sure that no U.S. customers are able to access any of the great deals. And I'm going to tell you what, there's been some great ones, because when Boozilla was pumping out Solana at pennies, I was trying like I couldn't get to it. Why? Because of the U.S. corporation. The U.S. corporation is controlling how your ability to be able to access what people would refer to like penny stocks. No. We're going to protect you and stop you from becoming a millionaire. That's how we protect you, But, really, unless you're converting it into gold and silver, which really that median is about to take a shit, because, I believe there's something of precedence that says something about they'll be throwing their gold and silver into the street because they'll figure out that none of these mediums matter, that the people were all that were of the importance. Like you say, we are the value, right, people? Why are we the value? Big questions. How do you justify any of this crap existing in our lives? How do we stand by like cowards and do nothing about the next baby being registered while I'm doing this live feed right now? How is it that, what's your name, what's your date of birth out on the street, officer? You're in the same fix, buddy. You're a member of the Liars Club. Welcome. That's one thing Douglas Joseph Herrick was spot on about. They're in the Liars Club. Oh, I agree. You're right. You're right. Giving our date of birth is lying. And these insistent mask-wearing morons. We have to see your driver's license or a state ID or we cannot help you. Really? Huh. That's interesting. As they want to entice me to place my babies into slavery right now, you have to get them a Social Security number. And according to the fact that it's a federal program, and you have to get immunizations. You have to pump them full of poison in order for us to assist you. Well, sounds like I'm just not going to have to be able to get your assistance. And I'm going to have to count on something else. And I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, people, because I don't know how I'm going to work and balance being... It could be laughing and playing and hugging and squeezing, and the next thing you know, you're being beat on and pinched and screamed at a high pitch you couldn't even imagine. Your ears will ring like a grenade went off. All the time, the same time, caring for this most beautiful little girl who's just absolutely so beautiful. If there's one thing Michelle left behind, she's got 2 other beautiful daughters too. She's got one magnificently beautiful daughter with the brightest blue eyes, and they deserve better. And how am I supposed to balance this out? He's up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he isn't to bed till usually 9 or 10 o'clock. And it's the same routine, right back up. I mean, I shouldn't be up doing this live feed. I should have went to bed. But no, here I am, pleading with the people. I beseech you, brethren and sister, stop the registration of babies. Point blank, stop volunteering your date of birth for a legal name that's already in play, and let's stop any more of them from coming into play. Let's support the bill that ends the Federal Reserve. See, Ron Paul, man, he had that stuff right, but what they did to him in Orlando was beyond criminal. It was beyond mind-boggling, because I was there, and and they had an army. I mean, they had the police were just in riot gear, and they knew what they were going to do, and the teleprompter was running the deal. I was like, oh, okay, I guess the country is now run by a teleprompter. I wonder who's running that. Artificial intelligence? Yeah. So we're all going to answer to the AI? NVIDIA stock is blowing up. Yeah, they've got the most powerful AI. And the thing is, everybody thinks everything's just going to be okay. They're running the division like nobody's business all over the world. We're going to make sure that there's an anti-Christian population bigger than the Christian population everywhere in the world. And, we really shouldn't fall for this, because whether you're anti-Islam or anti-Christian or anti-Jewish, there's not going to be any winners in all of that madness, in my humble opinion. It's just an opinion. It's all for entertainment purposes only. You can wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. But yeah. I'm a bit frustrated with the idea that the simplicity of this incorrect date usage. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Any and all contracting use your date of birth with that legal name is dishonor. And if it isn't, show me how it isn't. Show me how using our date of birth with something that wasn't created the day we were born wouldn't amount to a lie. Let me know. Let me know how all that works out. Wow. That was really, really strange. That's really strange. All right, guys. We'll check you later.